it all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, and happy Friday. I am Dakota from Galt Advocacy, and sadly, Caleb cannot join us today. He's busy with meetings and stuff going on right now, but I'm here for we can do our regular Friday end of the month question and answer live stream. So hope everyone's gonna have a good time. We're gonna be talking about all things special needs. Before we jump into the main topic and everything, did want to say thank you so much to everyone who came out to our seminars this last weekend. Yeah, last weekend down in Southern California. We had a great time and got to meet some people that, you know, have been watching our streams and things like that. And so if you were there and you had a good time, learned some good things, leave us a review. Teresa asked me specifically to mention that you can go to our page on Google and leave us a review. So, all right. I think we already have some people shown up here. Keegan, hi. Hello. Thank you for being here. And this is just, so for anyone who's not new to this, this is our Q&A day. We have our, hold on. I'm sure I've got a banner for it somewhere. Oh, yep, there it is. Today's Q&A, which means I don't have any particular topic to talk about. So we're going to just talk about anything that you guys are wondering about. And this is anything in regards to IHSS, special education, regional center. If you have a question, I will do my best to answer it. I am not all-knowing. I'm not an expert on everything, but I can do my best to answer questions about any number of things. Now we are approaching that time of the year when a lot of kids are going to get out of school. School year's ending pretty soon, and there could be questions about what happens there. I mean, for one thing, this is a question we get fairly often: is does that change your IHSS now that your kid's out of school? Do your IHSS hours go up? And I can answer that one pretty quickly. The answer is no. Even though they're now spending more time at home and less time at school. When the county calculates your IHSS hours in regards to, time that they are served at other places and, how many meals per week that you're having to make, they are supposed to, and I guess they might not always get this right, but they're supposed to factor in that some alternative resources like the school are only for approximately 9 months out of the year. And so they don't change your hours up and down, back and forth the whole time. They're supposed to take the average across the whole year. So unless your social worker messed something up when they first gave you the hours, you shouldn't see any changes like that when the school year ends. So that's one I can answer real easy right off the bat. But if anyone has any questions here, that's what we're doing today, is just open questions. Oh, sorry, Teresa forgot to mute her computer. So any questions you have, leave them in the comment section, or else I'm just going to sit here and just ramble on about nonsense for 45 minutes.
Good information.
No, yeah, I'm going to ramble on about great information that's very useful and that everyone needs to know. But I don't need to do that because Leslie's coming through with a question for me. Hi, my name is Leslie. I have two boys on the spectrum, 10 and 7. I was denied PS for my 7-year-old. Is there any way I could get help? Their reassessment should be on June. Well, the number didn't come through. It's sometime in June. Or what can I do? Well, for one thing, absolutely. We that's what we do here, Galt Advocacy. We help people try to get protective supervision. Now, every person's situation is a little different. If we talk to you, we might have to get some of the basic details and figure out if we think that, if we agree that your son, you used to say boys, if your sons need protective supervision, that would be a discussion we would have to have. But that is what we do. Now, June's coming up pretty soon. So whether or not we'd be able to get all the way ready and on the case and whatnot, could happen. But I'd say give us a call, as soon as you can. And if you have any maybe specific questions for anything very urgent that you want to know right now, like what you do to prepare, I can address some of that right now. But yeah, absolutely give us a call. And besides that, I would just say prepare the basics, like list of unsafe behaviors. Prepare the SOC 821. That's the main doctor's form that they are going to want to have for protective supervision. Be prepared ahead of time that if there are, they've got an IEP, the county's going to ask for it, and it could be problematic. Like, these are the basic things that you can prepare ahead of time. Terry said, parents pay for Galt services. I'm new here. If we take you on as a client, yes, but what we're doing here today, just the question and answers, all this is, of course, totally free. So if any questions you have that you want to ask me about, that's what I'm here to do. If we were to take you on as a client and walk you through the whole step of the process, and be at your hearings and be at your assessments and all that, then yes, that's a whole nother paid service.
It varies for each person.
Yeah, we don't take any money up front. I think we still don't do that because we don't want to take money unless we're actually able to get people services. If we get you services, then we will charge based on I'm not the billing person. I don't want to get into all that, but that's the way we do it, is that we try to format it in a way in which
You get paid first.
you always get paid more than we get paid, so that no matter what financial situation you're in, we're not making it a hardship for you. That's our goal. Teresa is posting a comment. Thank you very much, Teresa. Are the documents you need for a home assessment different than what you need for a hearing? Yes and no. It's a little bit of both. I wouldn't say there's any document that you have to have for a hearing that wouldn't also be good at an assessment, but to some extent, I think what they're looking for in the different meetings is different. To some extent, I think that at the assessment with the social worker, they might be more willing to hear maybe less definitive evidence, like letters from friends and family, or the information that you provide verbally. Some social workers might be very amenable to those types of evidence, and might be convinced of your child's need for supervision because of those, less hard facts things. Once you get into a hearing, a lot of judges will be very strict that the evidence they need has to be strict facts, and it has to be from doctors and professionals. It has to be signed, and no conclusions. It can't be someone saying that your child needs protective supervision. It has to be just the facts. And a lot of doctors, if something doesn't perfectly line up with every little thing that you've claimed, will just throw it out. They'll just say,
Doctors? Some doctors?
sorry, did I say doctors? I meant judges. A lot of judges will look at a document and say, well, this doesn't perfectly match up with what all the other documents say, so it's useless, and I'm just going to disregard it entirely. So at the hearing, you want to be very careful to make sure that all your ducks in a row, and that whatever letters or doctor's reports or anything are as thorough as possible to mention every little thing. Thank you for that question, Teresa. I'll just take a moment while we're waiting to say that if there's anyone else who you think would benefit from this information or might have questions for me, go ahead and share it and do whatever other things you're supposed to do on Facebook or YouTube to get the stream out there. I'm obligated to mention this at least once per stream, so let me I'll do that now. All right. What else can we talk about? I had a situation while I'm waiting for more comments. And again, put any questions you have in the comment section. I had a situation with a friend of mine who has autism, but very high functioning, and had someone come up to him because he was with a group of us, a group of our friends. I wasn't actually there, but they had gone off, and he wanted to stay behind and get some ice cream while they were going on a hike or something. And he was just waiting outside for them to come back. And somebody came up to him and started talking to him, thought, well, what are you doing out here all by yourself? Why are you alone? And he was flustered and confused. Like, why is this guy coming up and asking me questions? And the guy thought that he needed protective supervision. He wanted to call the cops on my friends for this, like, 22-year-old who was sitting by himself having ice cream because he thought that he had low functioning autism. And it made me realize it's a good idea if you have children who are adults with autism and they're high functioning, make sure they're prepared to be able to speak confidently and say, it's fine. I know what I'm an adult. I don't need constant supervision, because people can sometimes get the wrong impression, and trying to do the right thing or trying to, trying to protect someone can think that you as a parent or you as just their friend are breaking the law somehow. So that was a weird situation that I heard about. That just it's the opposite end of, oftentimes we are talking about social workers and judges who don't realize that a person needs protective supervision, but sometimes just a good Samaritan might see your adult child and assume that they need protective supervision when they are actually fine to be left alone. Okay, got a couple of questions come through. Actually, let me before I read these questions, sorry, I'm going to mess this up. Yongxiong, your question came through, but it cuts out a while in. So if you or Teresa could post like the second half of the question, just so I can see the whole thing, I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, Sam said, what should I have for my first in-home assessment? So the main things now, when you first apply, they are going to have you do the healthcare certification form, which is the SOC 873. But usually you're going to get that and you're going to fill it out and turn it in before you even get your assessment. So if you've already done that, that's all good. If for some reason they're doing the assessment and you haven't already given them the 873, then you'll need to have that. The other sort of the main doctor's form that is a form that they'll use for protective supervision is the SOC 821. So if you're trying to get protective supervision, you'll want to have that one. If you're not trying to get protective supervision, then there's really not a whole lot of documents you need. You just want to be prepared to answer about any of the categories: dressing, bathing, shopping, laundry, feeding, meal preparation. You want to have answers prepared for all those categories and give reasons why you or the recipient can or cannot do those tasks. If you are trying to get protective supervision, then the 821 that I mentioned, some kind of list for yourself of unsafe behaviors, when they happened, how often they happened. This kind of information is very helpful. Any letters from teachers, school staff, maybe if you if you go to church, maybe somebody who does handles the children there, talking about the recipient and about their behaviors and why they need constant supervision. That stuff is helpful. You can also get letters from neighbors, family members, friends about specific incidents where they've put themselves in danger. And the IEP is something that the counties will usually ask for, and sooner or later you're probably going to have to provide it to them. But it's a good idea if you can try and make sure that the school, one way or another, has acknowledged the need for supervision in the IEP, in an amendment, in a letter, something like that. You want to make sure that the school is at least on board. Also, if you believe there are paramedical needs, you should just go ahead and get the paramedical form out and prepared right away. So paramedical needs are anything that involves injections. If you have to sterilize some part of the body before you perform some task. I think a lot of diabetes treatment is paramedical. Things like that. If you have to take medicine and insert it into the body some way, like put it in their mouth, or grind it up and mix it into something, a lot of these things count as paramedical tasks. So if you identify some paramedical tasks, then you can go and get the SOC 321, which is the paramedical form, and have the doctor fill that out ahead of time. Last thing I'll say about that is that whether you're trying to get protective supervision or paramedical or anything, we always advise not signing the release of information at the in-home assessment, because if you sign it, then the county could go and get those documents redone behind your back. And we've had a couple of times, I think Monterey County is one that did that, where they went and they got the paramedical form. They had a good one. It said that the child needed an hour of services, and they went behind the parent's back, got the paramedical form done a second time, and told the doctor, no, you filled it out wrong. It should only say 5 minutes. And the doctor said, oh, okay, I guess it should only say 5 minutes, and then did it again. And then the county used that form and said, all right, we're only going to give you 5 minutes paramedical because that's what the doctor said, even though the doctor had previously written down an hour. Anyway, so that's just a little bonus. Okay, I'm going to start reading. Oh, Sam said you already have PS. Well, that's good. If you already have protective supervision, it's a lot easier to keep it than getting it the first time. So for a sorry, let me put this on screen. If it's your first reassessment, then, I mean, you still want to get a lot of the same things, but there's a little bit less worry that the county's going to take it away. The main thing is just have, documents that are similar to previous year. And when they ask you questions about it, just tell them that things haven't changed, that there is still a need for protective supervision. They are still doing the things that they were doing before. And, they cannot be left alone. That's the main part of it. All right. I'm going to get to Yong's question. And hopefully by the time I get to the end, someone will have posted the rest of the question. I think it might already be there. My child's been approved for protective supervision for a few years, but a social worker did an evaluation, denied my child protective supervision hours, and sent an NOA on November of 25, stating my child's hours will be decreased effective 12/26. Okay. I am my child's provider. I filed for a fair hearing on behalf of my child after receiving the NOA and received aid paid pending until the hearing date. The hearing date was yesterday. I decided to withdraw my hearing request so I can reapply again. Let me see. Okay, I think Teresa posted the rest of it. Oh, is there two different?
So there's several because it was long.
Where's cost? I'll just read as much as I can. So said, decided to withdraw my hearing request so I can reapply again when my documentation is stronger. My question is, when does the decrease in hours take effect? Will it take effect May 1st, 2026? I'm asking the question because as my son's IHSS provider, I tried to enter hours for pay period 4/16 to 4/30, and the decrease in protective supervision hours already took effect during the aid paid pending period. The hearing was not until yesterday. So wouldn't the decrease in hours take into effect? Okay. Also, do I have to pay money back if I lose fair hearing due to withdrawing? Okay, so let me take these one at a time. So first question was, when does the decrease in hours take effect? Would it take effect May 1st, 2026? And you said because when you checked the last pay period, the last 2 weeks was already decreased. Now, you said the hearing was just yesterday. Now, it's my assumption that the aid paid pending would go up until the day the hearing was withdrawn. And aid paid pending is supposed to continue until either the hearing is decided by the judge or until it's withdrawn. It is odd to me that the decrease would already take effect the last 2 weeks. because I would have expected it to be, from today or tomorrow going forward. But I was thrown off a little bit your first question because they said December 26th, but I assume that was December of 25, and that you had requested the hearing way back then. But yeah, it's in theory, and for anyone who doesn't know, aid paid pending is essentially if you get a decrease in hours, you request a hearing with aid paid pending, and they will continue to pay you whatever you were previously authorized until the hearing is resolved. And that's the basic understanding of what it does is it's until the hearing is resolved. So withdrawal or denial or approval, whatever, once that's finished, then aid paid pending stops. So I thought it would be the next pay period that the aid paid pending would go away, but it sounds like it's happening to the last one. It's such a short difference that this might be just a normal thing they do, and I don't think it would be worth pursuing them over the 2 weeks worth. But yeah, I did not realize it would be that way. I would have thought it would. I would have thought it would be the next pay period that the decrease would happen. I'm not sure if there's someone you can talk to about getting that, but I wouldn't pursue it further than at least just, calling up the state maybe and just saying, hey, the aid paid pending went away a little bit too soon, but I don't think it can go much farther than that. And then your follow-up question was, do you have to pay money back if you lose a fair hearing due to withdrawing? No. Once you get aid paid pending, no matter what happens, you never have to repay the money that you got from aid paid pending. Now, I think there is a possibility that they could discontinue the aid paid pending if they feel like there's a delay in the case that is unnecessary. Like if you repeatedly request postponements month after month after month and you're on aid paid pending, I think the judge can rule that they will give you the postponement, but the aid paid pending will cease. But I think it's very rare for that to happen. Like if they think you're stalling the case, essentially, they can discontinue the aid paid pending, but you never have to pay it back. To my understanding. Okay, let me see here. Terry said, oh, this is another one got cut off. So if you see at the end where part of it's not there, if you post the rest in a second, I will read this in the meantime. My son moved to 7th grade this past year. After seeing he is tardy going class to class, I inquired, and the security officer told me he would find him wandering, etc. School psychologist, and she agreed with me that he needed one-to-one because he had eloped a few times at previous school. She conducted her review and finding yes, he needs one-to-one was approved September 2025. In March, I spoke with his teacher and I inquired how the one-to-one was going. She indicated she never heard anything. Yeah, I haven't read the rest of it yet, but that does sound like it's going to be a bit of a problem. Let me see if the rest of it's on there. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll get the rest of the question very soon, but so make sure I have it. So he wasn't making it to his classes as security guard, and in between classes, he was wandering off, eloping, just not getting there. And so the psychologist said he needed a one-to-one. He was approved for a one-to-one. And then the teacher is just not seen a one-to-one beat with him at all, is what I'm hearing so far. I think I'm going to get the rest of it in just a second here.
Hold on, it's coming.
All right. Sorry for the delays. We got some very complex questions here. Okay, it's going to come through in just a second on my end. All right, here it is. She was pretty upset about this, and I received a call from attendance, which was a class-to-class tardy. I left a voice message saying, well, my answer is what did that happen? He's supposed to have a one-to-one. I then got a message, oh, he has a one-to-one, but asking my son, he said no, he's 13. So I'm confused how could not. Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, how are they calling you up saying he's not making it to class on time? Not first class today, but the in-between classes, when he's supposed to have a one-to-one aide taking him there. It's like, why aren't they talking to that person? And they say he has one, but then he says he doesn't. Yeah, if they're bringing it to your attention saying he's not making it to class, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
that's your fault, right? It's like, that's, and I don't mean you, the teacher. I mean, I mean you, the parent. I mean the school. It's like, you're telling me that you're providing him a one-to-one specifically so that he'll make it to class. Why are you calling me and telling me he's not making it to class, but also telling me he has a one-to-one? What are they doing, right? They just following him around the school wherever he wants to go. Actually, that could be possible. I know that some schools are like, yeah, you're not allowed to ever touch the student for any reason whatsoever. So if they just decide they want to leave, you just have to let them go. But I doubt that's the case. But I don't know. I don't know what they're, and I think, yeah, it sounds like they're not providing it. Or if they have a one-to-one, they're just standing back and observing and not actually interacting with him at all. I don't know. And Terry, you had a follow-up, I think, said, also indicated that my son has so many issues with food, and could the OT provide some food therapy? They indicated they don't provide food therapy or had not before. He will come home and ask if he, and I ask if he's eaten lunch so many times, he'll say no. It's really worrisome. I'm not sure what I can do. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something else that, at least to some extent, that the one-to-one aide could be doing for him is, making sure that he gets lunch and is at least encouraging him to eat. They can't force feed him, obviously. But I don't know if OT, well, it sounds like he has OT, but they're not doing the food therapy. I don't know if that's a thing that OT does usually, but I mean, if the strict matter of fact, the issue is during the school day, he's not eating, then, and if lunch is supposedly supposed to be provided, then either he doesn't know where he's supposed to go for that lunch, or he's refusing to eat, or the food that he's being given is just not something he's willing to eat. I can only speculate as to what the issue is, but if he needs to be guided to the cafeteria at the right time, or if he needs a different diet, or
Because OT does provide food.
Oh, food therapy. Well, in general terms, I guess food therapy is a thing that OT does, but who knows about this particular school?
Well, if the school does it, they have to.
Oh, is it?
It's one of those things where this is one of those things where it's the basic need of the student outweighs what the school is willing to get.
Okay.
Fair, appropriate. This is
so this should be something that they are able to provide. Now, I don't know. Again, if the general issue is during the school hours he's not eating, then it could just be a matter of he doesn't know where to go. But if he's got general eating problems throughout, not just the school hours, but at home as well, then that would be where the food therapy comes into play, right? But it could be, some amount of both. All right, let me see if I missed any older comments. Anna said, I have my third assessment coming up. We have PS. I'm worried because his teacher refuses to add his behaviors to his IEP, but send notes home that he is hiring. I'm not sure. Maybe spitting, getting naked, eating dirt and bark, etc. So
that's probably hitting.
Oh, hitting. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, those. Yeah, hitting, spitting, getting naked, eating dirt and bark, etc. Well, if you have those notes, that is very helpful. Because even if it's not in the IEP, if you have something written by the teacher with their signature on it from the school that says he's doing all of these things, then the fact that it's not in the IEP, in most cases, you can still work around it, right? That even if they refuse to put it in there, and if it comes up, if the social worker asks you why, you can tell them, well, they're not willing to put it in the IEP because then they would have to put in extra, protections and give him more services at the school to deal with that. But they keep giving me these notes saying these things are happening. That does go a long way, because oftentimes you won't even get the notes about it. And you know what? If you have the notes and you provide them outright to the social worker, they might not even ask for the IEP. Oftentimes they still will, but there's a chance that they might just take that and go, oh, well, this tells me all I need to know. And as I said earlier, when it's a reassessment, you already have PS, it's a lower bar to clear to retain it. Okay, let me see what else we've got. Shammy Poo said, time to visit the school. I agree. Honestly, that would be a good thing to just, one of these days while you're there being like, hey, can I meet the one-to-one aide? Can we talk? Can I just make sure that, ask them what they've been doing? Honestly, I mean, what are they going to say? No, you can't know who's with your child all day. Right? Like, absolutely, I would say,
I would ask them why my child's not getting
be like, let me talk to them and say, hey, are you aware of what classes he's supposed to be at? You know where those classes are? Then why isn't he getting there? I mean, you don't got to be too, you can be polite but firm, right? Polite but firm is a good way to handle these kind of things. Anna said, great, I've been saving those notes all year just in case. Perfect. If you have a whole binder full of these things saying he, eloped from the classroom, he hit himself, he ate dirt, he ate bark, all this stuff, whatever else is going on. Now, of course, I will clarify, if he's hitting other people, spitting on other people, getting naked, probably also, a lot of these things don't necessarily help to get protective supervision, because protective supervision is all 4 things that you do that directly cause yourself to either directly cause yourself harm or directly put yourself in danger, right? So hitting other people, that's aggressive behavior, doesn't count. Getting naked, I mean, it could be problematic. There could be problems, could be danger involved, but not necessarily a PS behavior. Spitting on other people, again, is not exactly a PS behavior, but anything, eating dirt, eating bark, if he hits himself, if he elopes from the classroom, all those things can be protective supervision behaviors.
And also, if you're recording the IEP, you say out loud, I want these things added to the IEP, you can show that to the judge or whoever. I requested it be put in there, they refused. They have to put it in.
That's a good mention. Teresa said, if you record the IEP, you can bring these things to them and say, hey, I've been told by the teacher that these things have been happening in the classroom.
I want it put in the IEP.
I want it put in the IEP, and then see what they say. If they say okay, if they refuse, whatever. The thing about recording the IEP is that you have to give them, I believe it's 24 hours advance notice that you are going to record. They have to allow you to record, but you have to give them that 24 hours advance notice.
And there's a section in the IEP that's for parents' concerns. They should at least have it in there.
Yes, yeah. At the very least, it should be in the parent concerns in the IEP. But honestly, if they're sending you notes saying that they have seen these things happen, it really should be mentioned in there regardless. Teresa mentioned here, yeah, Vinaya is in our office, is really good when it comes to IEPs, regional center, all that stuff. She's got a lot of good information. Terry said, I like that. I will do that. I'm not sure which thing exactly, but if this is about going to the school and talking to the one-on-one aide, I think it's a great idea, honestly. So thank you so much for whoever, for Shammy here. So I definitely have to check up on them. Great recommendation. I think it's a really good idea. Just, don't do anything to get yourself arrested. That's my one caveat, is just don't get yourself arrested. That's all. I know I ask for a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to mess this name up. Berserli Fiero said, what would be PS behavior? So PS behaviors can there are a lot of things that can be, but ultimately it's whatever a person does that is detrimental to their own health and safety. And it has to be things that they intentionally do Man, actually, if I think about it, I can remember the actual definition. So it's the person has to be non-self-directed, and a person is non-self-directed if they are unable to make safe and appropriate decisions to keep themselves safe. So PS behaviors might be things like they get frustrated and they start hitting themselves for no reason. They eat unedible things, right? They eat things that they shouldn't be eating, that are, not just unhealthy things, but things that are actually inedible. They cross the street. Now, crossing the street without looking is not exactly a PS behavior, because protective supervision, ultimately, they need to know that these things can happen at home. So crossing the street unsafely isn't by itself going to get you protective supervision. However, if a person will leave the home by themselves when they shouldn't, and then cross the street in an unsafe way, that is a protective supervision behavior. And that by that I mean someone could get protective supervision just for that, just because they have a tendency to elope from the home and run across the street without looking for cars. But yeah, elopement, self-injurious behavior, mouthing inedible things, these are like the three biggest behaviors, I would say, when it comes to protective supervision, that are going to be applicable at all ages, pretty much. All right. Yes had a... Yes? Yeah, that sounds right. Why would the paramedical services form be given to the in-home provider, and does this fall under or tie into protective supervision? So paramedical services is a little different. Thank you. Paramedical services are a completely separate category from protective supervision, for one thing. Protective supervision is only for people with a mental impairment who do things that put themselves in danger. Paramedical services is all about things that are similar to nursing type medical needs, but are not quite at the level of needing to be done in a hospital. They're, medical tasks that are done at home is paramedical needs. And the form is given to the in-home provider pretty much just because you are the go-between, between the county and the doctor. Now, if you provide them with the release of information, which again, we don't recommend providing the county with the release of information, but if you do, they can go and they can give the paramedical form to the doctor themselves. But as I mentioned before, we've seen them use that to intentionally give you a very low number of hours. But it's given to the provider, and then the provider has to then give it to whichever doctor instructed you to do the paramedical task. So if you have a doctor specifically for diabetes or diabetes care, then I think it's an endocrinologist for that. Then the endocrinologist would fill out the paramedical form saying what tasks need to be done, how long they take, how frequently they have to be done, and if it's indefinite, needs to be done all year round. Sorry, my nose is all itchy. This happens to me whenever I stream. So it's still the doctor that fills out the form, but the counties will give it to the provider to give to the doctor. The doctor will send it back, and you send it back to the county. That's how it goes down. But again, it does not, there's no correlation, there's no overlap between paramedical services and protective supervision. The paramedical services are well defined in what counts as a paramedical service, and the doctor cannot order anything that is not defined as a paramedical service. The doctor cannot take the paramedical form and order supervision. They cannot order time for meal preparation or bowel and bladder care or things like that. Unless the nature of the meal preparation needed counts as paramedical services, like if it's through a G-tube, or if it's has to be done in a I don't know, right? If you have to be supposed to be tube fed with pureed food that's special and it has to be put directly down their throat, then it might be paramedical services, and that might overlap with meal preparation. But they cannot order supervision. They cannot order other tasks. They can only order paramedical services. And the county cannot approve any paramedical services until the doctor has ordered it. Okay. We got time for a couple more questions. So let's see. Young said, my son's regular teacher has been out on medical leave since November of last year. There have been several substitute teachers in his classroom, but no one stable. What are my rights as a parent to ask for a credential teacher who knows what is in his IEP and help him work towards his goals? That's so I guess one of the issues is probably if he is in a general education classroom, then each substitute teacher would have to be made aware of everyone's needs in there. No one's stable. I mean, my guess is that legally, technically, as long as they've had the substitute teacher been made aware of that he has an IEP and maybe some part of his goals, that probably meets their legal requirements. But then if he's supposed to have a one-on-one aide in the classroom, that still needs to be done, right? If he needs to have be taken out of the classroom for tutoring, that still needs to be done. He needs to have, be in a special ed classroom with, he's in a special day class. So there are certain in the IEP, it should say what their, requirements are, the staff student ratio, things like that. If they're not meeting the requirements in the IEP, then, there should be some form of compensation. If they cannot provide an adequate teacher in the school, then they need to provide for outside tutoring or, other therapies, whatever's necessary. And if he's not meeting his goals, that's when you need to ask for even more work on their part to, again, if they can't provide the services, they need to provide the money for him to receive it elsewhere. That's kind of ultimately what it's about. But as for there still is teachers, but it's not the same teacher. It's not a consistent teacher. And I can't say whether or not the substitute teachers are credentialed or not. I don't know if that's something that by itself is a problem, at least according to the law. Shammy said, this is the issue I'm having with my worker right now. You have meal prep and your son eats through a G-tube. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. With the G-tube, to me, it seems like that should be, covered under paramedical tasks, since it is invasive to the body. But at the very least, G-tube feeding would be really, really high end on meal prep and feeding, right? And I would think meal prep would be really high, and there would be significant paramedical tasks for feeding and cleaning and making sure that everything is sterile and clean and all of that. That there's probably hours to be had in several different areas of meal prep, feeding, and paramedical. The feeding might be completely overtaken by paramedical tasks, but I think meal prep also, those both would be a very big deal. Now, what you might be running into is the age appropriate guidelines, where they'll say, well, you can't get meal prep until your son is 17 or 18, which to some extent is true, but that's only if the meal prep that you're doing is relatively typical for a child of his age, right? If your child is 5 or 6 years old, he's 24, then that shouldn't even really be a problem. They should be giving you plenty of time for both meal prep and paramedical and feeding. If not paramedical itself, then they should be giving you over and above like the maximum time for feeding. But here's the thing. So this is what you should know. If the doctor orders a paramedical task and it is a paramedical task according to the regulations, then the county cannot disagree with the doctor's order, right? If you fill out the SOC 321 and the doctor says needs time for the G tube for replacing, sorry, I'm not up on all exactly that has to be done, but with the cleaning and the feeding and the hooking it up and making sure that it's secure and the area around it, making sure that it's clean and not infected or whatever. If the doctor writes down all of these tasks that you have to do and the amount of time that he believes it takes to do those tasks and how frequently they have to do and all of that, then the county has to accept that. Now, if any of the things he writes down aren't part of paramedical, then they can ignore that and decide for themselves whether or not there's time for that. But any of those that are paramedical tasks, they cannot just decide, well, the doctor said an hour, but we think it's going to take 10 minutes, so we're going to give you 10 minutes. They can't do that. They would have to have that doctor write a new form that says 10 minutes. If he doesn't write a new form, they have to accept the form he wrote. So what I would say is, number one, like I've been saying, don't give them a release of information or else they might try and get him to change his opinion. And then if they received the form, but they're still not giving you any time for paramedical tasks, file for a hearing. File for a hearing, take it to the judge and say, here's the doctor's form. This is what he said. Find the regulation. And actually, I don't recommend doing any hearings without some form of advocate, some form of assistance, but pull up the regulation that says these are paramedical tasks. If it's this, or this, and you say this task matches this description where it says requires sterile procedures. This task matches this one that says requires training given by a medical professional. This task requires this one that says invasive to the body. And then that will clearly show that the things the doctor wrote are paramedical tasks, and the doctor wrote the time. And so the county has to give it. One more caveat that I'll say to that is that any time spent waiting does not count. So let's say, for instance, it takes you 5 minutes to put the tube on for the G tube, and then maybe the eating process takes 30 minutes, and during that time, you're just waiting for it to be done. And then there's 15 minutes at the end of disassembling and cleaning up and whatever else. They will not, and they cannot give you time for any waiting time. If you're just on standby or if you're just waiting for the process to finish, that time is not considered part of the paramedical hours. So that is the one caveat I'll mention to you that they might argue with you about. But as long as the doctor's aware of that and the doctor knows that you are, the times when you are actively participating in the tasks being completed, that is the time that's supposed to be written down on the form. So I hope that's helpful. You said you'll keep fighting. Absolutely. And if you want to, call us up, ask us for more advice. If you have any more questions, absolutely go ahead and do that. And, we're here every week. And even though this is our Q&A, we kind of always do a little bit of Q&A every live stream. So if you ever come back and you have, more questions or if more things happen in your situation, let us know. So thank you so much for the questions. Let me see. We're almost out of time, but let me see if there's any last minute things to get through. I'll try and get this really quick. I think, yes, that said one more thing. Said, after years of having PS, a worker denied PS. The next annual had called, but left the call after 5 minutes because he forgot some forms. However, he gave the paramedical service form to fill out, which he has never required previously. It felt weird. I'm not sure if I should be filling out this form. Okay, so this is back to your question about, like, do they overlap? Is it, yeah, that's kind of weird. If you didn't mention some paramedical task, again, the requirements are things like invasive to the body, involves injections, involves sterile procedures, involves specialized training or judgment based on, requires judgment based on specialized training you've been given from a medical professional. These are the categories of paramedical services. Now, it's possible you mentioned something that he thought, oh, that might be a paramedical task, and that's why he wanted you to get it filled out. But if he wanted to get you the paramedical form filled out for protective supervision, I don't see the correlation there. There's really no reason why you'd do that. That's very weird. All right, I'm gonna do this last question. Last question of the day. Amanda says, "Is PS being taken away a lot right now?" Honestly, that's it always feels like it is. I don't know. I've been out of like a lot of these streams for the past like few weeks, but I don't know if it's like right now there's a whole lot of it, but
Since the beginning of the year.
it's always been pretty bad this year. There's been a lot of PS taken away, and of course, as soon as we get into like the budget stuff, beginning of the year into June, July, it always seems like counties are scrambling to try and get their budget in order. And so yeah, these months are usually some of the worst, where your counties will call you up out of the blue, be like, "Oh, hey, we need to do an assessment right now," and then people are just losing their PS left and right. I mean, I think we had like 2 or 3 people just mention it in this stream who mentioned that their PS was being taken away. So yeah, it seems to be a problem again. That is happening a lot. So it's unfortunate, but that's why we keep on doing what we're doing, and hopefully, we see these things kind of come in waves as the assessments, we're getting a lot more PS taken away, the hearings are going a little bit better. And then when hearings go downhill, some of the assessments get better. These things, we have to tackle them sort of one area at a time and keep chasing down whatever the new thing is that these counties are doing. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much all for the questions, everything that you guys were bringing up to me today. It's so great having a lot of good stuff to talk about, a lot of good topics, because I don't like just sitting here talking to myself about nothing. So thank you so much all for being here. And again, thank you for anyone who came to our seminars this last weekend. It was great to see you. I mean, I didn't personally see you, but we all get to connect with Myra and Nicole and everyone. Love to connect to everyone. So thank you so much for being here today. And we don't have a topic prepared for next week, do we? We don't know what it is yet.
No, it's gonna surprise us all.
Okay, it's gonna be a big surprise what our topic is for next week, but look forward to it. See you next Friday, and yep, have a good weekend.